Good evening. We do have a tornado warning right now for Hamilton County. We have a confirmed tornado on the ground right now. Let's go ahead and put the radar here up to the current time for you, and you can see where we have that pink polygon there in the southwestern portion of the state. That is a tornado warning for Hamilton County. That goes until 7:30 p.m. So we have about 35 minutes on this tornado warning. Let's take a look at this storm in a little bit more detail right now as it is affecting the southwestern portions of the state. Give me just a moment here to load up our, let's see, Dodge City radar site. Again, we've been monitoring this storm carefully here behind the scenes, and again, we do have a confirmed tornado on the ground. Now, today's not the day for any strong tornadoes by any means. This is likely a land spout tornado that is on the ground here. Let's see where our report came in from there. That report coming in here 6 miles north of Syracuse. So that is the most likely location of this tornado. And again, this storm is moving off to the northeast at around 20 miles per hour. So the good news, it looks like it's affecting mainly the rural areas there of Hamilton County. Let me just double check. Check. Okay, we're good there. So again, we're continuing to monitor this. This is in the west central portion of the state. And again, there's our tornado report there just 6 miles north of Syracuse. That report coming in here. A public report there 6 miles north of Syracuse at 6:43. So about 10 to 15 minutes ago, where you see that icon right there, that tornado icon, that's where we had this report of this tornado. This storm, again, continuing to push off to the north and east at around 20 miles per hour. Let me take you across the west central portions of the state where we are continuing to monitor these storms carefully. Let's put the radar in motion over the past 4 hours, and again, you can see we've seen these storms blossom up this afternoon across the west central portions of the state. And overall, we have seen just a few severe thunderstorm warnings. We had some reports of some hail mainly with these storms this afternoon. Overall, they weren't widespread enough to warrant a severe thunderstorm watch at this point. And again, we're continuing to monitor this activity out in the eastern portions of Colorado. If that continues to push eastward, we could see that merge sort of with some of this activity that we have right now, and a watch may be possible then. But at this point, we aren't looking at a watch too likely at the moment. But again, you see the pink polygon, that's indicating that we have a confirmed tornado on the ground. Again, that report coming into us 6 miles north of the town of Syracuse in Hamilton County. So let me go ahead and put the radar up to the current time, and we'll take a more detailed look at that storm right now. Again, this is the latest radar sweep that we have, where you see that pink icon. That is where we had this this tornado confirmed on the ground by the public. Again, the Weather Service was able to confirm that 6 miles north of Syracuse. This storm, again, pushing off to the north and east at around 20 miles per hour, so affecting mainly the northern portions of Hamilton County. So again, we're going to continue to monitor this storm. Let's see if we can take a look at the hail within this storm. And again, where you see that shade of red, that's where we may be looking at some quarter-size hail in addition to the threat for this tornado. Again, the storm continuing to push off to the north and east. Let me see here. These storms have sort of been training over the same area as well. Let's head back to our statewide view, and we had a flash flood warning issued a little while ago. This is, let's see if I can find that here, a flash flood warning there for Greeley County until further notice, because we've had some storms just training, remaining stationary here across the northeastern portion of the county. So some flooding going to be being an issue there with some of these storms as they're moving fairly slowly. Again, let's put the radar into motion for those of you that are just joining us. Again, we've been monitoring these storms over the past several hours here across west central Kansas. They mainly had some hail this afternoon, and overall it wasn't too widespread, which is why you're not seeing any sort of severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch, just because this is just some isolated activity that we're tracking right now. But in the past few moments, we were monitoring this storm. The Weather Service saying that they had an unconfirmed report, and then they were able to confirm it. And now we have this tornado warning that goes until 6:30 Central Time here. I believe that's right. No, make that 7:30 Central Time here. That is for Hamilton County. So again, confirmed tornado 7 miles north of 6 to 7 miles north of Syracuse, moving to the north and east at around 20 miles per hour. So again, let's take a look at the radar picture and see if we can look at the rotation on radar, and it's not very well defined. Again, today's not a day for tornadoes by any means, so this is likely a landspout tornado. I tell you, I don't know what it is about west central Kansas here within the past few weeks, but I believe this is our 6th or 7th landspout tornado within this area within the past 3 weeks or so. So again, we're going to continue to monitor this. Again, But at this point, that was our report. That report coming into us at 6:43, 6 miles to the north of Syracuse, of that tornado. That, again, report coming in by the public. So, again, this storm continued to push off to the north and east. Let me get in a bit closer of a look and see if we have any other areas. Nope. Just K27 here, north of Syracuse, about 6 or 7 miles north of Syracuse, up to the county line, up to the Greeley County line. So that's really our only area of concern right now. If you're in Syracuse, this threat is north of you. Again, you can see that icon there. That's where we had the reported tornado. Again, 6 to 7 miles north of Syracuse. The storm moving to the northeast at around 20 miles per hour, and I'll show you that as we put that into motion. Again, you can see it's a fairly slow-moving storm. I don't have a whole lot of frames loaded up there because this is we just got our high-resolution radar loaded there. But again, that's our main threat with this storm. We're not really looking at any threat for some damaging winds or hail at this point with this storm. But again, just that threat for that landspout tornado continuing to push off to the north. Again, landspout tornado is probably not going to cause a whole lot of damage, but if most definitely, if you're in the northern portions of Hamilton County, do be aware of that risk. Not a bad idea to just get down in your tornado shelters just in case this were to do something a little bit stronger. But I doubt with the conditions that we have in place today, and probably the base of this storm is fairly high off the ground, that we're not going to really be seeing anything strong with this storm, with this tornado threat. So again, this storm continued to push off to the northeast at around 20 miles per hour. The good news is that it is affecting mainly the rural areas there of the county. So let's see, just getting in something here. We had a report that was half an hour ago in Hamilton County, 1 mile west of Syracuse, of some quarter-sized hail. So again, we're not really looking at anything too terribly significant with this storm, except for the threat for that landspout tornado. But again, the good news is it's affecting mainly the rural areas of the county, so it's likely out in the open country, which is good news as it continues to push off to the north and east. If you're just joining us or wondering about any of these other storms, in fact, they're not severe. They've weakened pretty much. They've weakened considerably, I should say, here over the past little while. If we put it into motion for you over the past 4 hours, again, you can see we had some severe thunderstorm warnings earlier. We had some of these storms produce some hail up to, I think our largest report was some golf ball sized hail with some of these storms north of Tribune. You can see where we saw some shades of brighter pink and white, but notice how that storm sort of stalled out there across the northeastern portions of Greeley County, which is why that northeastern portions of Greeley County have been put under a flash flood warning there. In fact, you can see that right there moving through at the ticker at the bottom of your screen. Again, that's until 9:30 tonight. So again, we're just monitoring these storms carefully. Again, they were mainly producing some hail earlier this afternoon, I should say. But if we take a look at them, you can see they were fairly isolated, so not enough to warrant a watch at this point. Typically, when we see a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch, the storms are going to be more widespread, and we're going to be looking at more reports of some large hail and winds. So that's why we don't issue, or the Storm Prediction Center doesn't issue any watches for just for isolated events, just because there's not enough there to warrant the watch, and that it's going to be that doesn't warrant the watch, because it's not going to really be that long of a time with this. And again, you can see over the past few hours and in past few scans, these storms have been weakening here. But we are watching some storms there around Lyman, Colorado. These areas continue to push eastward. We do have a little bit more instability to work with here across eastern Colorado and western Kansas, which is why we've been seeing some of these storms producing some hail this afternoon. And so as this continues to push eastward, we'll keep an eye on it, and it could possibly strengthen once again as it heads towards the Kansas-Colorado state line. But again, at this point, one tornado warning that is in effect for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. That goes until 7:30. We haven't had any new report from the National Weather Service of a tornado. Again, the latest report was at 6:43, 6 miles north of Syracuse. That was coming in from the public. So again, as I've mentioned here, not too significant of a risk. Even with a tornado potential, it's likely a landspout tornado the base well high off the ground, so it's going to be sort of a rope or a land spout as it continues to push off to the north and east. A rope may be a little bit better of a term for this, but again, we're going to continue to monitor this. Again, rotation on radar isn't the strongest, but again, we're going to continue to monitor this. Again, tornado warning in effect for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. That goes until 7:30. So about just under a half hour here for this tornado warning to continue. Again, we'll see if the Weather Service in Dodge City will allow this tornado warning to go that long, or if they will allow it to, or if they will cancel it here early. But again, let's back out here across the state. This is our only area of storm activity across the state right now. Again, as we take a little bit more of a regional view, you can see that there's our storms that we're tracking currently across the west central portions of the state, and we have some more scattered showers and storms across stretching from southeast Colorado into the northeastern portion of Colorado. This activity is continuing to push eastward, and if I put that in motion for you, you can see that we did earlier have some tornado warnings there just southeast of the Denver area. These storms are going to continue to push eastward, and again, they could encounter some greater instability conditions, a little bit more favorable for some severe weather. So these could strengthen, but we haven't seen a watch. And if maybe you're just joining us and you're wondering, well, there's a tornado warning, why isn't there a watch out? Well, this activity has been fairly isolated this afternoon. We had just a few reports of some hail, quarter to golf ball size, through the past few hours this afternoon. And overall, it's such an isolated threat that a severe thunderstorm watch wasn't warranted this afternoon. The Storm Prediction Center was monitoring the area earlier this afternoon, but they decided not to issue a watch just because of the isolated nature of these storms. But again, we do have a confirmed report of this tornado on the ground. That was as around 20 minutes ago, so it may not be on the ground at this point, but the latest statement here from the Weather Service is they will continue the tornado warning until 7:30 for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is now 11 miles to the north of Syracuse, moving to the northeast slowly at 10 miles per hour. So again, good news, mainly the rural areas of the northern and northeastern portions of Hamilton County being impacted by this storm. Let me read something here. This is coming in from the Weather Service in Goodland. They have a significant weather advisory for Wallace County until 6:03 Mountain Time, 7:03 Central. Tracking a strong storm 11 miles northwest of Sharon Springs, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. Let's take a closer look at that storm right now. And there's the storm of concern there, again, across Wallace County right now. So again, just maybe some gusty winds and maybe some small hail with these storms right now, north of the warning that we have in place there, southwest of Leota, northeast of Tribune, and well south of the Goodland area. Again, as we take a look at these storms and put it in motion, they are fairly slow moving. So again, we have a flash flood warning in the northeastern portions of Greeley County. That goes here until 9:30 tonight, but we're continuing to track this line of storms. Again, you can see they've moved, or I should say cluster storms, they're not in a line, moving slowly off to the north and east, 10 to 20 miles per hour. So again, our only immediate impact is going to be with that storm there across the northeastern portions of Hamilton County, where we do have that tornado warning until 7:30, so about another 20 minutes left to go on it. Let's take a look at our high-resolution version of StormView radar, and let's take a look at the Doppler radar, the rotation within it. And as we take a look, there was our earlier report. That report that came into us was a little while ago, 6:43, so about half an hour ago is when we last had that report of that tornado. But the Weather Service now putting this around 11 miles north of Syracuse, so that was about 6 to 7 miles, so this is going to probably be about 11 miles north of Syracuse. So if there is still a tornado with this storm, that's going to be the most likely area just along or just east there of K27 there in the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. So again, the storm continued to push off to the north and east. Again, Doppler radar indicating that rotation really isn't too strong, and we weren't really expecting much today in the way of severe weather or tornadoes, especially. But again, overall, we're not going to be looking at any significant tornado threat with this storm. The report didn't say what type of tornado that was, but I'd imagine, given today, that's more of a rope tornado, a weaker tornado, which is definitely good news. And the other good news, again, impacting mainly the rural areas there of Hamilton County as it continues to push off to the north and east. So the tornado warning is going to continue until 7:30. We'll see if it will continue all the way through 7:30, if the Weather Service in Dodge City will allow it to, or will cancel it early. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at the hail within the storm, and Storm View radar is indicating that we could be looking at a little bit larger of hail now. Perhaps they're up to around a $half size north of Syracuse. So where you see those shades of red and pink, that is where we could be looking at some of the largest hail there just west of K27, moving off to the north and east. In fact, there's an update there just coming in. Radar now indicating that we could be looking at some hail closer to up to golf ball size. Again, that may be a little bit of a stretch with this storm. I haven't really got to dissect it here behind the scenes, but again, where you see the shades of pink and white, that's going to be the most likely area for some of that hail. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at this storm in 3D right now. That would be the wrong thing though. Let's get back in on it and we'll get our 3D box here. There we go. I'm going to change our thing here to hail, and basically what we're looking for here when we're looking at these storms in 3D and we're taking scans of them is where you see these shades of pink, and that's where we're going to be looking at the most likely. The cores for hail is going to be most likely within those areas, and if they stretch just above this red line, that's typically a good indicator that we are looking at some of this hail. So again, you can see we have a little pink nose there just above the red line, and then just there once again there a little bit farther to the west there. So that is a good indicator that we're probably looking at some of that hail, which is being indicated there by Storm View radar. Storm View radar saying some $half to golf ball sized hail. So again, we're going to continue to monitor the risk for some hail. Again, you can see, you can't see Syracuse. There's Syracuse. So again, this is just going to be just to the north there of Syracuse. We're going to be looking at some of the more likely areas for some hail right there where we see again the shades of pink, and then you can see even a little bit of white there well northwest of Syracuse. So again, all of this continue to push off to the north and east, and again, radar beam is going to be kind of high off the ground to see any sort of tornado debris, which I would probably be hard to detect anyway because it's out in the open right now in the rural areas of the county. So again, this storm continue to push off to the north and east. We do continue here with the tornado warning that goes until 7:30. Let's take a statewide view, and again, if you're somewhere elsewhere in the state right now, we aren't looking at any other severe weather. Again, clear sky, or excuse me, I should say dry skies. We do have some clouds around here, central and eastern Kansas. Again, it's just here in the far west central portions of the state that we're tracking some of these storms, and they've weakened here over the past few hours, or I guess over here through the past hour or so. So we don't even have any other severe thunderstorm warnings. Earlier this afternoon, those storms did produce some hail up to golf ball size, was our largest report of hail there, but at this point those storms look to have weakened, and we do continue with this tornado warning though until 7:30. But at this point there's not any widespread severe weather that's going to be occurring here, but we are monitoring these storms moving out of the east central portions of Colorado. They could perhaps move in an area of greater instability. I haven't got a chance to look at things here as I've been putting together the forecast and just got done recording the forecast video, and this tornado warning was issued. So in fact, I can try and look here and look at things right now, but again, at this point overall the threat isn't looking too widespread. Now we do have a severe weather risk tomorrow that we could be looking at. Again, mainly some large hail, damaging winds. That could be a little bit more widespread than what we are looking at here at this point in time. So let me look at things here behind the scenes and right here and see if I can take a look and see how things maybe unfold. But again, we don't have any watches in place at this point in time just because the threat isn't widespread. Again, as you can see, no warnings in place right now, so we aren't, or I guess we do have the tornado warning, but no other warnings that are severe at this point. We still do have that flash flood warning till 9:30, but that's not anything that would prompt a severe thunderstorm watch. So let me take a look here and kind of analyze things and see how the environment's looking like now. And yeah, I'd say that once we get done with this storm, I think our severe threat's going to be sort of limited through the rest of the night. We're starting to get that at nighttime. We start to get the cap. You know, you've probably heard several times over the past few severe weather events that we've had. That cap is strong as we head toward the early daytime hours into the midday, and then it sometimes will break in the afternoon, but then it will pick back up as we start to cool the surface again once the sun goes down. So that cap does look like it's beginning to strengthen here across the eastern portions of Colorado, western Kansas. So I do think our severe weather risk is going to be sort of limited here through the rest of the night. So overall, we're not expecting any widespread severe weather. We really weren't expecting any widespread severe weather through much of the day today, which is why you really didn't see any outlooks from us or any big heads up of everything, just because it was just going to remain isolated and we weren't even sure if these storms were going to develop. But again, this tornado warning is still in effect until 7:30 tonight for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County, but again, it's likely just going to be a fairly weak tornado on the ground overall. We aren't really looking at anything too significant with that. I want to kind of, let's see, look at something else here. Yeah, and it does look like our bases are pretty high off the ground, so again, this probably isn't going to be any sort of strong tornado by any means. In fact, it's not a strong tornado by any means. But the good news is, even if it is something that is on the ground here still, our last report was of around 6:43, so about half an hour ago. So we haven't had any report here in recent time with this storm. Let's head back to our high-resolution version of the radar, and let me back out of that here, and let me kind of pan that over. But again, radar isn't really indicating. I couldn't really pick out an area for you if we wanted to look at the rotation within this storm. But again, there was the report. Again, this is half an hour ago, so this isn't recent, but 6 to 7 miles north of Syracuse is where we did have that report of that tornado. But now at this point, we aren't looking really at any defined area of rotation. It really wasn't too defined earlier. Again, that tornado warning was just based off of that report of the tornado. But again, we haven't had any other reports within the past half hour, and again, radar isn't looking too impressive at this point, so that is definitely some good news. But again, we do continue here. The pink polygon is that tornado warning. Again, that goes until 7:30, so we have about another 15 minutes left to go. We'll see if the Weather Service in Dodge City will allow this tornado warning to continue until then, or if they will cancel it early. But at this point, based on radar, there isn't really too big of a concern now. Again, if you are in the rural areas of the county, it wouldn't be a bad idea to stay down in your shelters at this point in time. But overall, it does look like that the tornado threat isn't too considerable. And again, we do have about another 10 to 15 minutes left to go on this tornado warning, again, until 7:30 Central Time, 6:30 Mountain Time, again, for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. So let's see the radar now and see if what it's showing its hail at. And again, the radar indicating that we could be looking potentially at some hail. That may be a little bit large, but we could be looking at a hail threat here. They're now just crossing K27 in the northern and north central portions there of Hamilton County. Again, that core is going to continue to push northeastward at this point, but overall, that's really our main risk. The wind gusts within this storm aren't really looking too impressive either. Again, we may not. The main threats here are just going to be perhaps some hail there right along K27 in the northern portions of the county, pushing eastward, if that at this point. But again, we do continue with this tornado warning. But again, the rotational signatures on radar certainly haven't been too impressive at this point. But again, you can see the northeasterly motion fairly slowly at around 20 miles per hour, but again, we haven't had any reports of any tornadoes within the past half hour or so, so that is good news right now for this storm. Let's take a look here across the west central portions of the state and just kind of look and see if anything else is strengthening really at this point, and it really isn't. If we look at earlier, we had some severe thunderstorm warnings earlier this afternoon just northeast of Tribune, and then across portions of northwest Kansas. I think our largest report was there just northeast of Tribune of some golf ball sized hail a few hours ago. So again, the threat's been isolated through the afternoon hours, and that's really going to be the case here we aren't really going to be looking at any big threat for severe weather, not really anything widespread here through the rest of the night. And again, as our what we call our boundary layer, the surface generally is beginning to cool, so that's going to increase our capping inversion. So we're going to be getting to see these storms weaken as they, as you can see right now. So we're going to continue to monitor things right now, and again, we are monitoring this storm carefully here behind the scenes. But that was our report about half an hour ago was of that tornado, now approaching about 35 minutes ago. So we haven't had any other report, and I'm looking from the Weather Service. They haven't issued an update. Their last update on that tornado warning was at 7:04. So, and that's nothing that has to do with this storm. So again, we will continue with the tornado warning here for about another 10 minutes or so, but again, we aren't really looking at any widespread severe weather risk tonight. Now tomorrow, we are going to be looking at a risk of severe weather. That threat's probably going to be a little bit more widespread than what we're looking at right now, but that's really going to be more of a risk for some large hail and damaging winds, and definitely some heavy rainfall going along with that tomorrow. But again, right now, just awaiting an update here on this tornado warning, but just showing you what we were looking at earlier. Really doesn't look like this storm is really producing that big of a tornado risk now. There may be something going up there west of K27, so we're going to monitor that potential. Let's see. We'll see what the Weather Service says on that, but for now the tornado warning does continue there until 7:30, the north central, northeastern portions of Hamilton County. Again, if you're just joining us, or we have had that earlier report, that was at 6:43 of a tornado there, 6 to 7 miles north of Syracuse. So this threat was and still is several miles to the north of Syracuse. So if you're in Syracuse, there is no risk for severe weather. It is just off to the north of you. So you're probably getting a really good look at this storm right now. But again, the greatest tornado risk at this point, if it is still there, is going to be here the north central into northeastern portions there of Hamilton County, where we do continue with that tornado warning until 7:30. But at this point, it doesn't really look like anything too significant, and maybe not as well defined as earlier, although we're kind of looking at this area now west of K27 in the central portions of the north central portions of Hamilton County, but we're sort of in a bad area on the radar here where we sort of get those purples. We're sort of in a bad area to kind of look at things here on this storm. So we haven't had an update yet from the Weather Service, so for the time being, the tornado warning is going to continue here until 7:30. Let's take a look here and see if we have an updated look at the hail within the storm. And again, looks like the most likely area for some of that hail is going to be currently right along K27 in the north central portions of Hamilton County. Continue to push off to the north and east. Again, these are slow-moving storms today, and that's just because we don't have a whole lot of shear in the atmosphere, a whole lot of wind to push these storms along, and that's the reason why they've been fairly weak today. We did have some hail earlier across west central Kansas, but that's why we aren't really looking at any widespread severe weather risk today. So again, at this point, we do continue with the tornado warning till 7:30, the north central, northeastern portions of Hamilton County. But as we take a look here to west central Kansas, that's all we're tracking is just a few cells. Overall, they aren't severe at this point, maybe some small hail and gusty winds, but overall, that activity continued to push off stationary to slowly to the north and east. Probably not going to be making a whole lot of northeastward movement. Not going to be making a whole lot of distance that way. So overall, we're not going to really be looking at too big of a severe weather risk tonight. Again, tomorrow, we could be looking at a little bit more of a widespread risk across the western, central, and northeastern portions of the state where there is currently an elevated risk. But again, was just working on getting the forecast video put together here and just got done recording that. Then it was time for some coverage here, but at this point, again, the threat for tornadoes isn't high today. Probably not going to be looking at any big risk here with any of these storms here through the rest of the night. But overall, this is definitely our strongest storm right now across Hamilton County. That is the only one that's probably producing any significant hail at this point. But overall, again, I don't think that we're really looking at too big of a tornado risk with this storm. Again, northern and northeastern portions there of Hamilton County. But we do continue with the tornado warning till 7:30. Let me take a look and see here. This is our latest sweep of the radar. It's updated. And it's sort of hard to tell. I'll kind of go up in the storm here a little bit more is what we're doing right now. And I'd say, yeah, we'll still monitor their areas on along and just west of K27 in the northern and northeastern portions of Hamilton County right now. But at this point, Weather Service hasn't said anything. Their last saying was at 7:04. That was 20 minutes ago. So at this point, we're going to continue with the tornado warning. We'll see what they do here within a matter of minutes. We should see what the Weather Service is going to do. But again, we don't have any watches in place. If you're just joining us or wondering what's going on, again, we have this tornado warning for the northeastern portions of Hamilton County. This goes until 7:30, so about another 5 minutes left on it. We had an earlier report 6 to 7 miles north of Syracuse of this tornado. That is really looking like a minimal threat now here across the northern and northeastern portions of Hamilton County. Maybe looking at a hail risk with this storm right now up to $quarter to $half size possibly. But overall, we aren't looking at any watches in place. Let me show you a look here across the west central portions of the state. If you're in central or eastern Kansas, there's no storms in your area and no concerns of any storms here through the next several hours. And through much of tonight, in fact. But again, this is what we're tracking here. West central Kansas, there's that storm that we were just zoomed on earlier. We do have a few other strong storms here across the west central and northwest portions of the state. These may be producing some gusty winds. It may be some small hail, maybe, if that. But overall, this is going to be definitely our most significant storm at this point in Hamilton County, where we could be looking at some hail up to around $quarter, maybe $half size. But we still have another 5 minutes left to go on this tornado warning, 4 to 5 minutes here. But we'll see what the Weather Service in Dodge City does. But looking at the radar, maybe sort of a tough call. I'd say we're just going to have to wait and see what they do. But let's take a look at the storm in 3D and look at the hail threat right now is what I want to do. And let's see. This is sort of also how we can tell if a storm is weakening. In fact, let me show you how we're going to look at things here. So there's Syracuse, just so you kind of get an idea. Areas here are going to be north. Areas there are going to be west. Areas back here to the right-hand side of your screen are going to be east. And where you see that pink shade, that's going to be our core of, our most likely area of our core of the hail. And as we take a look at this red line right there, we're going to want to see that pink core go above that red line, and we do see that there. So that's still an indicator that we're likely looking at some hail right now for the areas here being impacted by this storm. And again, you can see how that sort of translates down to your a little bit more of a traditional radar image, where you see sort of those shades of pink and the shades of white there as well. That's why we always say typically that's going to be your most likely area for hail, because when we look at these storms in 3D, that's usually where the core lines up, and that is coming down to the surface. So again, that's going to be our most likely. Okay, let's see here. We just got in a new severe thunderstorm warning here for Hamilton and Kearney counties until 8:15. Severe thunderstorm, let's see, 11 miles north of Syracuse. So the one that we're tracking right now is moving to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. Going to be looking at some, I believe that's $half size tail and 60 mile per hour winds possible with this storm. So the tornado warning looks like, I'd say, based on that, is going to be allowed to expire. We still haven't got official word on that at this point from the Weather Service, but it looks like there's your yellow polygon, and there's that new severe thunderstorm warning. Again, the north central, northeastern portions of Hamilton County into the northwestern portions of Kearney County right now, and the tornado warning will be allowed to expire here for Hamilton County. So again, as we were just mentioning, mainly a threat for some hail now, up to half-dollar size as the storm continues to push off to the north and east. Maybe some gusty winds, 50 up to 60 miles per hour, but overall the main risk now looks to be some hail. And as we put this into motion for you, again, storm is moving off to the north and east at around 20 miles per hour. So again, the northeastern portions, areas along and east of K27, and areas there across the northwestern portions of Kearney County going to be impacted possibly by some of this hail. Again, where you see those shades of pink is where we're looking at the core of the hail as the storm is continuing to push off to the north and east. And we'll track that little area there moving northeast of Coolidge. Maybe that can intensify as it pushes off to the north and east. But again, good news is tornado warning is being allowed to expire here at 7:34. This storm, and it has been replaced by a severe thunderstorm warning there. Northern and northeastern portions of Hamilton County, northwestern portions of Kearney County. So as we take a look now before we stop our continuous coverage, again, we're just monitoring these storms across the west central portions of the state. Maybe some small hail and gusty winds with these storms. Overall, main threat can be some lightning and some heavy rain with those. And again, we'll continue to monitor the hail threat for that storm across the northeastern portions of Hamilton County, northwestern portions of Kearney County. Keep it right here. We'll continue. This is actually our new source for 24/7 radar, so you can tune in with that. And I'm working on getting the updated forecast video put on into this, so you'll see that here in just a moment. But again, keep it right here. We'll continue with 24/7 radar. And again, if we have any more severe weather tonight, you can tune in for live break-ins just like this one. And then definitely tomorrow, if we do see some severe weather, tune in once again for the latest. Keep it right here. I'm lead forecaster Peyton Sanders. We'll continue to keep you up to date. a risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. a risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible, so that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state, and as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon, maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas, otherwise partly cloudy skies in the east, highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. brace for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. tracking a risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Nest City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again. 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. tracking a risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible. So that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Nest City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again. 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast. tracking a risk for some more severe weather on Sunday. We have an elevated risk across much of the state, across western, central, and on into northeast Kansas. This is the area that we could be looking at some large hail and damaging winds possible, so that does include areas like Hays, just northwest of Wichita, but back southwest towards Dodge City and Garden City. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that threat, and we're tracking some more storm chances overnight tonight in the western and northern portions of the state. A warm night once again with lows into the 60s and 70s. Gusty winds in the western portions of the state. And as we take a closer look to the Hays area for tomorrow, we'll be looking at highs into the lower 90s. Storms becoming likely by mid to late afternoon. 91 for Hays, 91 in Waukene, as well as Hill City, Plainville, and Ness City. Again, storm chances likely by mid to late afternoon, and breezy south winds becoming southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Across the rest of the state, again, best chances for storms will be in the western portions of the state, mid to late afternoon. Maybe a morning storm chance in northeast Kansas. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies in the east. Highs in the 90s once again, 91 for Wichita, 91 in Hays, 92 in Dodge City. Breezy to gusty winds in the western and central portions of the state. Now here's a regional 7-day forecast.